Hello there, this is Jeff, E.D.S. Inc. Shandon, and we have another little video for you. We're making a kind of replacement gearing for a sander that I have that tilts the table back and forth. And I'll give you a picture of what it looks like. This is it, and I'm not sure whether the video of the make of this will come before or after this video, but this video has to take place before we can build this because I need some things done in the shop to make this happen. So basically we've cut a gear blank. We're going to be cutting a gear with this on the Ajax mill. But our problem is our dividing head weighs approximately 200 and some pounds. So pulling that up and off of that bed is cumbersome. And I no longer have an engine hoist. I do have a forklift, but I can't get the forklift in there to lift it. So I've had an idea for a long time. In fact, I've designed this loft that I'm standing on right now in a way that I can use the I-beams that I've used for the to support the floor joists to build a bridge crane. So we have 4-inch by 12-inch I-beams that run the whole length of this direction, and from the inside one to the outside one we have just about 12 feet 10 inches. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put another I-beam on trolleys that will run that full distance back and forth on those I-beams that are supporting this floor that we're on. And that will be a 4x6 I-beam. And it'll be on trolleys that will engage the two end I-beams and roll on them. And so that's what we're up to today. That's what we're going to be doing. To begin with, I'd like to show you my problem. So as you look at this trolley, you can see that I have my bolt is on this end. Actually, I apologize. The bolt has to come through from this end, which is the side that runs up against the web of the I-beam. And it will fasten in to another part on this side. It'll be a piece of 3x3 by 1/4 inch thick angle iron that this will run through. It'll thread through that. And then I'll also have a nut on the opposite side and washer that holds it taut so it can't unscrew. But the problem is this head sticks out too far for the web I have. I only have a 2-inch flange. I call it a web, the flange on the I-beam. And so from here to this part, this is where it engages that I-beam that it runs against on that 2-inch flange. We have about 2 3/4 inch. So what I have to do is I have to take and mill down these heads to where they're very thin, and that way I can mount them onto the T-metal that will hold the, or not the T-metal, but the L-metal that will hold the I-beam. I've got a drawing here. I'm going to take you and bring you up close to that drawing real quick and explain how we're going about this. Okay, so this resemblance of an I-beam here, you have to forgive my drawing skills, they're not that great, but this is the I-beam that supports the flooring, the floor joist. And it's actually a 4-inch by 12-inch I-beam. So this doesn't really depict it. It'd be about this much taller if it was to actual size. This is the trolley that runs on that flange of that I-beam. And you notice I have very little space between the back of that trolley and the web of that I-beam. And so what my theory is I'm going to take and I'm going to take this head down and then weld it onto this washer so that it's not much thicker than this washer is. And then I can run this through that trolley and screw it in to the back side of the L metal, which is right here. So that L metal will be welded to this I-beam, this 4" by 6" that will act as similar to a bridge crane, because we'll put our hoist on this. I have an electric hoist that I'm going to put on this I-beam here that will be run by trolleys back and forth across it. So basically I'll be able to run, this I-beam is going to be 14 feet long. So I'll be able to run the full length this way and 14 feet back and forth this way across the building. So that'll basically extend over my Ajax milling machine. It'll run over the top of the Monarch lathe, and it'll also run right up to over the table on the G&E shaper. So basically it becomes a very versatile tool that I can use throughout the shop by doing this. It becomes like a bridge crane that runs the whole. Sorry about that, I'm not sure of where I left off. The camera lost battery power, and so we may have clipped it a little bit off on you. But anyway, we're basically building a bridge crane for my shop below. So it'll run, as I mentioned, this direction for the full width, which is about 16 feet, I believe, and it'll run back and forth across this way, 14 feet, giving me the ability to lift objects up onto my Ajax mill, lift objects up onto my Monarch lathe, and objects onto the G&E shaper table. So this is going to be a very universal setup, and it'll have an electric crane on it, so, or a winch, whatever you want to call it. So that'll make it real sweet to lift things up and down and onto the machine. And as I said, I need to have this so that I can lift my dividing head onto my Ajax mill. Now, did I have to build this right now? Absolutely not. But I thought this is a perfect time to do it. I have the need. That's when I get things done typically, is when I have a need. And so we're going to go ahead and build it now. So the first thing, as I mentioned, is to take these bolts and trim off the heads off of them and weld them to my washers so that I have the ability to put the trolleys on the flange of the I-beam where it's not rubbing up against the web. And so that's what we're going to accomplish first. So I'll bring you over to the lathe, we'll get all these parts up here, and we'll take care of them real quick. We'll make one as a sample to start with, weld it all up and make sure it works, and then we'll do the balance. Okay, I forgot to bring you up to the camera. I've inserted the bolt into the lathe, and I've made one cut. This is basically what we're leaving on the back side is 280, and so I've set my I've set the machine so that it zeroes out when it hits 280. So what we'll do is we'll just keep taking a portion out of this each time, and well, basically I'm taking 250 thousandths at a shot. Of course, that means it's 125 thousandths from each side. So let's see how we do here, and we'll go ahead and start our cutting. And I'll tell you what, before I engage that, let's bring her up to where she's almost cutting. I've got it set really slow on the feed. There we go. Because this is hardened middle, and just taking a real easy, light, slow feed on it. There we go. Starting to engage now. Check this out and see if we got our mark. We're at 280 on the mark. I don't know if you can see that or not. So we did good there. So now it's just a matter of rinsing and repeating, doing this over and over again until we get all our bolts cut. So here we go, guys. We got all 4 of them done. Cut them off, and they're ready to weld up. So now we take them down to the welder. We'll get these things welded up into their washers and get them ready to install. Then it'll be off to cutting the angle iron and the prepping the holes and that sort of thing in that. Okay, so I've gotten 4 of these bolts cut off, so we have a thinner head, and this is the way that we're going to weld them up. I've got the trolley here, and I'm using it as kind of a jig. I've got the washer, and we'll set this into the washer flush, and like you see here, and I'll just put a weld around here and then grind that weld off, and that will give me a bolt that will hold this flanged trolley on the track. And the reason for this, well, again, we don't have enough room on the back side for a standard bolt head, so we need to minimize that, and so we're doing it this way. So we'll go ahead and we'll get the welder all set up. I'll bring you back when we're ready to weld it. I put these blocks up here to protect my the material that the vise and the other material that I have on here, so I don't get overspray on it and cause it misery. So we're trying to protect our tools. Okay, now that I've got that tacked, I'm going to pull it out. We'll do the major welding off the jig. So we'll put our next one in, basically. I might have to pull it out. So that's what we're trying to do right there. We'll weld that all the way around. going to show you these bolts, but I went to pick it up. It was so hot it nearly burnt my fingers. But anyway, the bolt has a thin head on it so that it'll not take up much room on the trolley once it's holding the trolley on. And this little shoulder here will actually be enclosed. It's not affecting anything. The seals are even below this, so I'm okay. Basically, the reason we put these on is so that we could get minimal clearance on the trolley as it runs down the I-beam. We still have a little bit of a hex key in here, so that'll help me when I'm tightening these up. On this side here, they're going to be threaded into a about 3/16 thick angle iron, and it might be even 1/4 inch. I'll have to measure it and then tell you later. And then we're going to put a nut on this side and Loctite it on. So once we get it on, there's no way that this is going to come loose and cause a problem for us. So anyway, that's what we're up to. And now we have to go to setting up the trolley guides. So that'll be our next little job. So these are our angle iron flanges that are going to mount to this. And on one end, I'm going to weld it directly to it. The other end, I'm going to weld another plate to the flange, to the I-beam, and then bolt the bracket to it. So what I'm going to do is weld this one here to the end that goes back against the wall there. And then this one, I'm going to mount forward. So it'll be basically mounted like this, or, I'm sorry, more like this. Be mounted like this. Somewhere, I haven't determined the length where it's going to be yet. I'll get that figured out as we get this thing completed. And then this one will be all the way to the end on that side, and it too will be turned with this flat face facing down the length of this. And what will happen with these bolts, we'll run them through like this. So, and they'll run on that I-beam that's right above us there. So, so I just have to figure out exactly where to mount these so that we will get the proper purchase of the I-beam. We want this to be solidly riding on the I-beam. So both sides will have to be the same. That means on this side here, I'll have to make a count for the thickness of the bracket that I'm going to put in here. So I'm going to weld that bracket to the I-beam like I weld this down at that end, and then we'll have holes through this with slotted holes so that I can adjust it in or out of the beam, towards the beam. But I have to figure out how to lay that out yet. So I'm going to have to take some dimensions. I believe I've got 12'6" outside to outside. But I'm going to actually take it up and put it up there and then pull it back down and mount it, because I don't want to make a mistake with my math. So that's what we're going to do. But what are these flanges? What's the material? Well, they're both 4" by 4". Okay? So this one's 4" by 4", and this one's 4" by 4". Now the difference is, this one here is 0.350 thickness. This one here is 0.38 inches thick. It's almost 3.9. So this one's a little bit thicker than this one here, and which is fine. That'll work just great. So anyway, so now to calc so that I have clearance here. And you know, the thing that I don't know is their are all these beams running perfectly in line all the way back? Because we're basically going to be hanging it on, there's 4 beams, I-beams running this direction. And we're going to be hanging it off the 2 end beams. So that's going to give us a total of 14 feet, because I'm hanging it past the front I-beam to lift items. And so, the point I have to figure out is how much clearance from the bottom of the I-beams do I need to give? Because what if these 2 center ones are bowed slightly? And I figure a real tight margin on these 2 ends. And then it ends up rubbing against these center I-beams that run across here. I wouldn't want that. That wouldn't be a good deal. So we're going to calc this out to where we have maybe 1/4 to 3/8 inch clearance for any variance in these I-beams here. So I mean, measuring it and sighting it, it looks pretty good. But you know, just I didn't put up. You know, I didn't check that out that closely, so there could be variances. So we want to make sure that we got it with enough clearance that we're not going to drag on any of the other I-beams. So that's the plan, and so we're going to go ahead and get going. As soon as I get these laid out, I'll bring you back. Okay, so we have a 17/32 drill bit in here for a 5/8 11 tapped hole. We had to shim, because your angle iron is not square on the inside. We had to shim this out a little bit so we could make sure that we had a flat surface to drill to. So we've centered our holes, or countersunk our holes rather, and now we're ready to cut. Now we're tapping the brackets that are going to fasten to the bridge crane. So these tapped holes are the holes that will hold the trolleys. I measured the outside flange and then added a 1/2 inch to it. We might just barely get away with this, but I measured the outside flange instead of the inside flange, so I may not have as much clearance as I'm thinking. So, but I'm going to play it out now. We'll just see how she works. I think I'm going to have about 3/8. Now, when the thread's going to go all the way through the back side, and this will have a little bit of play. You can see that this is rubbing against this back plate here, and it'll allow it to have a little bit of play on the I-beam runner. It's bottoming out, so that gives me about 3/8 of play between the two. And the bottom of the shoulder bolt. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put a nut on this side of it too, and that'll hold it in place. There we go. I'm going to get myself a wrench to tighten those with, and I'll bring you back. Okay, putting the nuts on the bottom side of this one, then we'll have our two trolleys built. So it's supposed to thread it into the angle iron, and then we put a nut on the back side of it. Oops. Helps if I use the right end. Okay, it's good and tight. I think that'll do. Now we've got to weld this one. Actually, I have to tap out the plate that goes below the front one first. So I'll tap that off screen. You guys don't want to see tapping. You've seen that before. Okay, so we had a little bit of an issue. As I put this up on the back side, I decided to do another dimension or another measurement to check for clearance. I have about 5 inches of clearance between the flange on my I-beam that's we're going to be using to put the bridge crane onto, and a conduit. I didn't see that conduit before. I thought I had about 8 to 10 inches of clearance back there. It turns out I only have 5 inches. And so with this flange at 4 inches as it was, I was right at about 5 1/8 inch. So what I had to do is take and rip this down to bring this back on my bridge crane I-beam so that I'd have more clearance. I want a couple of inches of clearance so that when we slide it up there, I can get it up on there easily. So having it too tight, I tried to reverse the wheels, turn this around and reverse the wheels, but then my clearance between this and the trolley itself wasn't enough. I put it up on the I-beam and there was just too much friction, so I opted to rip this down. So that's what we did. So now we'll go back to putting our trolleys on and welding this puppy on here. Okay, we're getting ready to weld that onto the bridge crane I-beam, and got it all set up, cut down to the proper size and squared off. So let's go ahead, and I'll try to stay out of your way. It's going to be hard, but I'll try to do so. Okay, so this is, I've only welded along this side. When I get the other side figured out and set and welded on the same edge, then I'll flip this over and then weld the other side on both ends. So let me go figure out the other end and what do I have to do there, and then we'll bring you back. Okay, so after much measuring and double measuring and double checking and triple checking, we're about ready to weld this side on. And as you notice, this one's bolted to another plate, so I'm going to be welding the bottom plate on, and this will be bolted to that bottom plate. So that way I can get it up, slide it in, and it'll be locked in place. Both of these are going to be riding on the outside of the rail. So the trolley will be running on this flange right there. And on the other side, it'll be the opposite direction. And so it'll be capturing the width so that I know it can never flop off. So that's what we're doing. So now it's just time to weld. Then we can get this set up to hang. Okay, so I've pulled off the trolley off this side. There she sits. And now we're going to weld to this side of the flange of the I-beam that's going to be our bridge crane. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. We've already welded the two faces across the top. And then we're going to do the same thing down on this side. We'll weld this side, that side, and then across the back. And then she'll be ready to hang. Okay, I had forgot to do any filming here. So what we have, you can see that right in here, we've got the I-beam up on that fork, and it's clamped and strapped to that fork there. So with that fork, I'm doing the adjustments back and forth, in and out, tilt and forward until I get it level with the I-beams. Then I'll lift it straight up and pull back so that I hook the trolleys. Let's see if you can see those in there. But when I lift it, I want those trolleys to go up into the above the track, and then we'll move them over on top of the track, and then we'll set the trolleys on this side, and they'll be mounted on top of that little bracket right there that you see right there. So that's what we're doing. So I'll try to give you a full view of this as we go. And sorry I didn't show you all of it up until then. I just forgot to tape this. I didn't come in perfectly square, so what I'm going to do is put this trolley on. I'll come underneath it and I'll lift it. Once the trolley's on and it's just hanging on the trolleys, then I'll readjust everything and bring it on into true sync. That's all I can see I can do. Right now, I don't want to loosen it from the fork. That's a heavy I-beam. I don't want any accidents that way, so I'm just going to leave it tight, and then we'll address our issue with getting that perfectly plumb and straight across as soon as I get done. So hopefully we'll be able to fasten this part up here. Very beautiful. So I've got a 1/2 inch space between the shoulder of the trolley and the I-beam on this side. On this side, the shoulder of the trolley is taut against the, or right up close to your I-beam. So we've got the proper adjustment. So the trolleys themselves can float a little bit in and out. They won't bind while they're going back and forth. So I think we're good there. All we have to do is just let this fork down and let it hang. Let's see if she'll move back and forth across the I-beam. Then we can get our hoist up there. We've got an electric hoist that's supposed to be able to hold, I think it's 500 pounds, but I could be wrong. It might be a little bit lighter than that. It's in kilograms, so I have to obviously figure the math on that one. But all I really need to lift in my figuring is about 250 pounds, because on this Ajax mill, all the tooling that sets on this thing, like the main cutting head, that weighs over 200 pounds. The dividing head weighs over 200 pounds. The slotting head weighs over 200 pounds. I mean, you need some way to get that up and down off of this thing. And once we get the Monarch running here, then we're going to need to have, to be able to lift chucks on and off there. And so this is really going to help with that, as well as putting parts on and off the machines as well, once we get going. Okay, the moment of truth, let's let her hang. Well, she's hanging 100% on those two trolleys. Now, each one of those wheels on the trolley holds 900 pounds. 1,800 pounds this side, 1,800 pounds that side. And like I said, I'm never going to put that much on this trolley. I think the maximum I'll ever go is maybe 500 pounds for the span I got with the I-beam I got. So that's all we're going to do there. Well, now let's back this forklift out, and then we'll see if we can move that easily enough. Exciting! See how we're doing. Make sure we got a shot of all that real well. Okay, will she roll? Let's see what happens. Put a lot of work into it. If it didn't roll, boy, I'd be disappointed. How do you like that? Woo! Stuck a little bit when I first started. Maybe it was just getting its balance. Seems to run just fine now. I think I'm going to have to make sure that if I'm pulling it one way or the other, well, hold it, I'm hitting some stuff over there. I'm going to have to move that off the shelf. That's why it stopped too. It would have kept rolling. It hit my DRO over there. That's going to be a setup that the DRO I have up on that shelf is going to be a setup for my Brown and Sharp when I get that all done. And I've got another old, in fact it's brand spanking new, turn vision for the Monarch lathe. So, got it off of eBay. Okay, let's go ahead and try to get our hoist on here. Let's figure out how to lay this out. Okay, I found something I can hang my trolley off of, and not my trolley, but my hoist. And my hoist is rated at 250 kilograms, which is, I think, somewhere around 550 pounds, something like that if you crossed it over. So what I'm going to do first, let's see, I'm going to set this up here so I can not bend down to get her. I'm going to start threading this through first. Hopefully these are wide enough for it. Well, I guess they're adjustable. Yes, sir, indeed, they are adjustable. So I'm going to take that off. Okay, that's really sweet. So what's really cool is this is actually supported by an auxiliary cord so that your cord is never hanging on itself. It protects it from hanging against itself. And for this, with what we're dealing with, I mean, this is really convenient. It's right where I need it. So let's go see if she'll plug into this. Nope, wrong type of outfit. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to go scrounge around and see if we have any plugs that we can use to see if this thing works. I've never tried her out since I bought her at the auction. So this is the moment of truth. Will it go up or will it go down? So I'm going to press the down button, watch the chain. Woo-hoo-hoo! We did it! Look at that! Now I can position it any way, this direction or this direction, or any way this direction. And I've got, like I said, about 14 feet this way and I think 16 feet, I can't remember. It's longer this way than it is wide, so it's 16 feet at least, I think, that this can operate in. And so it'll get over all my tools except for my Bridgeport in the back. And I put a little I-beam over that with a winch on it too, so that I could lift things around if I needed to over there. So basically I've got things to lift things and save my poor old back all over the shop now. I'm tickled about this. The only thing that I'm going to have to be careful of is that I store this so it's not a headbanger. So we'll just have to watch for that. So that's this episode, the installation of a bridge crane in the E.D.S. Inc. Shandon shop. And so that's pretty much this episode. This is the installation of the bridge crane for E.D.S. Inc. Shandon. And this is really going to serve us well in this shop. Just being able to roll this back and forth, put it in any position, lift up the heads, the chucks, and whatever else I have to lift without hurting my back. I just love it. And having this automatic up and down thing, winch, is just sweet. I've never had one of these. Always had to pull the chain. So this is really sweet. I don't know what I paid for it. I probably didn't pay a whole lot. I usually bid on lots that have a whole bunch of junk in them, and I never pay a whole lot of money for stuff, so I'm sure I got a bargain on it. And now it's going to serve me usefully. Just tickled. Very happy. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. If you like our content, go ahead and subscribe. If you'd like to, give me a thumbs up. if you don't like this video, you don't like the content, you don't have to watch it. That's up to you. Everybody has free choice. And I'll even allow you to go ahead and put thumbs down. I don't care. I'm doing this for the fun of it. There's no monetary value in it for me. It's just sharing my adventures and learning how to do things. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you have good fortune with your projects as well, and that you complete them on time. Thanks much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. E.D.S. Inc. Shandon. Bye.